So I'm really delighted to have you on air with me this evening, Steve.
Thank you.
Lovely. So I was going to ask you how you wanted to be introduced.
Right.
So I say you're a spiritual guru and author. Would that be how you describe yourself?
Well, I don't know about guru, but I'm an author, I'm a healer, and I facilitate events, retreats, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Brilliant, brilliant. And I came across you, first of all, when a friend of mine sent me something. I was quite stressed out, and he sent me some chakra cleaning music and meditational stuff. And I'd never listened to that kind of thing before, and I didn't really believe in it, I had to say.
Yeah.
But I did start listening, and it did, start to make me feel calmer. But that was all it did. It calmed me down a little bit. It was nice music. And every time I said to this friend, "Oh, I'm not feeling well," he said, "Now listen to this," or "Oh, I've got my asthma." He would send me music. So just to be polite, I would listen.
Yeah.
And it was while I was listening to that I saw some of your stuff come up alongside, and I started listening to that. And I can't remember which one it was. It might have been the Alter Ray.
Oh, the Alter Ray, yeah.
Yeah, I listened to that, and it was just really, really phenomenal. It just really blew me away. I listened to it at night, and it was absolutely awesome. I've listened to meditation stuff before, but I mean, this is just so much better.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I've been doing them intensely for about 18 months, and it wasn't a planned thing. They just started coming to me. I was doing a writing retreat in Greece about 18 months ago, and then I was sitting in this little chapel overlooking the sea in Greece. It's a chapel that you could fit about 10 people in at max, I think. And I was just sitting there by myself, and suddenly I had this kind of, I don't know, it's just this feeling that someone was trying to connect with me, and I felt this pressure on my head. I sat with it for about an hour, and then over the next day or so, this kind of whole transmission started unraveling. I think one of the first ones I did was the Earth Star Goddess, which was really inspired by the ancient Greek energies and landscape and the kind of spiritual energies there. So that became a transmission, and then I did others, and then I started tuning into all these, it's like being connected with by all these different people or groups or races that I've not really felt I've had much of a connection to consciously, suddenly coming through. And I'm like, part of my mind was going, "Are you sure you're going to do this?" And I'm like, well, okay. Why not? I've got Virgo midheaven that's my kind of work line, and I've got a Mercury in Virgo, so I've got a structured side to me. So I don't just kind of willy-nilly go, "Okay guys, send me whatever you want me to send me." I do it through my body or see if it makes sense to me what they're trying to convey. If it doesn't make sense, I say, "I'm not clear, tell me again," and so sometimes transmissions take, some of them take a couple of months before they're really clear. So and I've got several on the kind of back burner, just waiting until I get the green light to do it. And sometimes when I get the green light, it comes in about an hour, the whole thing, and I just put it out. Yeah, I mean, at the moment I've got a few that I'm kind of waiting for. One is an Atlantean Egyptian one that's still hanging around. One's a Sekhmet, which is an Egyptian one that's hanging around, and there's some off-planet starseedy ones. But the next one that's coming through is this 5D upgrade. I know that's going to come through really in the next day or so. That's activating the Rainbow Bridge, so that's coming through very, very soon, I think.
I was listening to them, and it was interesting because during I sort of started listening, and then I realized halfway through in the middle your kind of voice changed, and it became like I realized I was listening to something that wasn't human. No offense to you, but right. I could hear what was coming through.
Right, yeah, that could well be. I mean, I don't know. When I'm doing it, I run the transmission through myself, and I speak it as if it's running through me. So I'm in it. I'm not writing a script or anything. I'm in it, giving it.
Yeah, I can definitely hear it. I can hear it, and it's a super highly intelligent being that's coming through.
Right, I'll have to tell my girlfriend that. She'll be very impressed. There's a super intelligent being in here somewhere,
No, but it's not you. No, I don't want to be rude. I'm sure you're the most, a really intelligent guy. But it's like another otherworldly. It's
Yeah.
But I mean, this has happened before. There's the Ramtha and the who does Ramtha is what's channeled through, and it's
J.K.
who does
Knight,
that?
isn't it?
That's it, Jay-Z Knight.
Jay-Z
and
Knight.
And when you're reading her. I've never really seen her speaking. I've only read her stuff. And
I've met her live.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she came to London 2010, I think. So I went to a conference. I was invited to a conference in London. It was quite odd, the whole thing, but she's a very interesting being, and the energy coming through is this old Atlantean energy. But I mean, there are a lot of channels around. The ones I particularly like at the moment is Lazarus, who's kind of been active since the 70s in America. There's Orin and Darben, and again in America. Yeah, there are a few really, really good ones coming through. There are loads of channels, but you've got to find one that really resonates with you.
Yes. I haven't heard of Lazarus. Is that L-A-Z or?
L-A-Z-A-R-I-S, I think. Concept Synergy, I think, is the company. But I've listened to him for years. When I first had my first awakening in the early 90s, I met a teacher. Well, I first met this witch. I was going for language lessons, married at the time, and I wanted to learn Portuguese. My ex-wife's Portuguese. I answered this advert, and there was this witch, teaching language. And I soon got more interested in her books on crystals and everything else. And she taught me tarot, and I forgot the language, and I started doing everything else. And then I got introduced to a crystal healer who I had sessions with. And after a few months, she introduced me to this amazing teacher called Jill Edwards in England, who's now passed over, sadly. She passed in 2011. And she introduced me to everything, all this whole world. And that opened my whole life up. And she introduced me to Lazarus and all these other channels. It's great to meet someone who just introduces you and mentors you. She did something called Living Magically, and I went to a lot of her retreats. An amazing teacher, and then then you follow other things. So I've been kind of absorbing a lot of information, but never ever really thought that I would be doing any of this kind of stuff. So I had this awakening in the 90s, and I had all this stuff going on, and then I had another awakening in 2010, which was a very difficult one that took me 5 years to get through the other side. I wrote a book on it called Personal Transitions, which people can buy if they're interested. But it was really a dive into the dark night of the soul, all my connection to my higher self guides cut. It was an existential crisis, really. It lasted 5 years. It seemed an eternity for me. And then on the other side, everything started to reconnect in a much deeper, stronger way. And all of this work came out, and I was connected by these beings. I got the impression, we want you to do this work, and my ego was kind of saying, well, this is a bit more out there than I've ever been. Am I really sure I want to do this? I had to sit with it. Am I going to do this? And then I decided, yeah, okay, I'll just trust, and whatever they ask me within reason, I'll say yes to. And so I've been doing workshops on Starseed, the shift, global shift, all stuff. At the beginning I thought, well, I don't know if I know enough about this, but a lot of it came through, and I was just getting this guidance and channeling, if you like. It's not like formal channeling when I kind of go in, close my eyes and say, now Bob the angel's coming through. It's more like I'm speaking and there's another intelligence overshadowing me, and that's kind of the way I prefer it, to be honest. So it's me, and there's these overshadowing things going on.
Yes, I felt that right in the middle of the it starts off with you, and then as you get warmed up, then you feel it coming through. You really do feel it. And and the stuff that they're coming out is amazing, and it's the energy in that you're channeling that is kind of washing over. As you listen to your meditations, you can feel the energy washing over you, which is awesome. Yeah, and it's fantastic.
Well, the nice thing is, my last job was being a director of a company called Alternatives, which hosted spiritual teachers and authors. I did that for 13 years, and we got loads of messages thanking us. It was so lovely. And now I'm getting messages personally, which is about these transmissions mostly on YouTube and Facebook. It's changed my life. I was in depression, now I'm out of it, and I was in a dark hole, now I can feel the light. All this kind of thing, and people saying to me, I go to bed with your voice in my ears, which I'm not sure if it's a good thing or not, but but that happens. My YouTube channel, which has been going really strongly for about 10 months, has had 720,000 plays in 10 months, so it's quite phenomenal, the growth of it and the interest in it. I never anticipated it. I just thought, I'm doing a service, I'll follow what they tell me, and it's kind of catching on like wildfire. People are recommending it to their friends, and I'm getting bombarded with emails. I do one-to-one sessions with people, and I really think I need 3 of me or more to keep up with it. Really. But that's not a bad problem to have. It's a nice problem to have. Really.
No, I mean, it's really good. I mean, I see you've got a lot of subscribers, but I thought you should have millions because of the quality of it.
Thank you.
I mean, it's fantastic. I mean, there's just nothing else out there like it. I mean, it's really, I mean, I go to sleep listening to it, and I found I mean, I have gone through that, dark night of the soul that you were describing, where, before everything I touched used to turn to gold. And then all of a sudden I lost my job and everything, and I didn't seem in touch. I used to be astrally awake and even higher than that. And, I've encountered entities and everything. And all of a sudden everything got switched off and I'm just like stuck in the 3D.
Yeah.
And it was really awful. But your staff, it helped me kind of clear that out. And I was just sitting in the car and all of a sudden like part of the transmissions that came into my head, and all of a sudden I kind of felt myself lift higher, my consciousness, as I was driving. And I thought, I can, really find where I fit in all this. And it kind of, affected me in my daily life. It's sort of echoes of it carried on and is really helping. It's helping to not feel that stuck in a box feeling, which I can't bear that.
I know the feeling. I think a lot of people have gone through this. A lot of light workers suddenly feel a lot of volatility, a disconnection, and this is all part of the global shift. I think as all these energies are getting more intense, there's a lot more volatility, and for some people it has thrown them into a dark night of the soul. I used to run manifesting workshops years ago. I used to be very into manifesting, and then all of a sudden it didn't work anymore. I couldn't do it, and I thought, well, why not? I thought the energies were increasing, but it's almost like there's two rivers joining together, the old energy and the new one of getting more and more intense, and it's creating, when two rivers meet, this kind of churning and volatility. And also a lot of starseeds and light workers are being called to really increase their energy and drop a lot of old stuff. And one of the ways of doing it is going into a dark night. It creates a crisis, and in the crisis we're forced to find our way through and out, really. My message is, don't despair because the planet is ascending. We're just going through an incredibly difficult transition and everything looks dark. You've got Trump in America doing what he's doing, you've got Brexit over here causing all kinds of worries, and there's all kinds of volatility in the world. But really it's a time of great hope and of great light, even though globally it will take a little bit of time for that to settle, but individually we can reach that light now in our own personal reality.
I noticed, your meditations are all free, and it's great that they're there for everyone to listen to. One of the ones that I was listening to recently, and I can't remember which one it was, but there's a lot of cord cutting and...
ultraviolet fire.
Oh, is that what it is?
I think so. The ultraviolet fire one is cord cutting.
Oh, right. And that's really awesome because I'd heard of cord cutting and attachment dropping before, but it's flowing through, basically you find the cords and you go through a whole list of banking systems, and there was one that was really unusual, being a rescuer.
Oh yeah, that's an ego pattern of rescuing people, which keeps you attached to people in a low frequency way. But there are all kinds of patterns, there can be rescuing, there can be rebelling, fighting, there can be fearful ones, there can be power struggles. We can have cords with individuals, groups, spiritual groups or religious groups or any group we felt we belonged to, and systems. So for example, if anyone's been in the universal credits or anything like that, these kind of government handout schemes, sometimes you're going to have cords to those systems which are not very nice at all. So I ask people to check if they're getting benefits, to check they're not in some way giving their energy away in exchange for this. And that shouldn't be happening. Shouldn't give your energy away to any system or group or being. Or spiritual teachers is another one, or classically parents or family. Any abusers, often, people who've had sexual abuse or anything like that, we get cords with those kind of people, or any trauma, whether been attacked or...
do we get cords with, because I had sexual abuse in the past, do we get cords to that kind of person?
Often, unless you've totally processed it, accepted it and released it in your energy field. If not, then there'll be cords to that person because it's not done yet. The work's not done. The karma's not cleared between you. So when I do one-to-one sessions, I clear family, I clear anyone you've had trauma with, I clear any group or system. It's something I go through as a kind of list and make sure there's absolutely nothing between you but harmony. It doesn't mean you have to love your abuser, but it should be nothing connecting you to that person. Because then if you've got any cords with a person, group or system, you're feeling stuff from them. If somebody's really angry, pissed off, going through a crisis and you're corded to them, you're feeling it. At some level, you're feeling that stuff, The only link we should have is one link between body, mind, soul, higher self and spirit. This one link connecting us. No other links. There are other links are interference usually. What tends to happen in a loving relationship, for example, is energies merge and connect, but you don't cord into people in some lower way. You merge with them, so you feel at one with them, but you're not kind of being pulled down by them usually. Unless one person is on a path of very rapid growth and the other one isn't, then there's a mismatch, and that's a problem. What would happen then is usually the relationship would break apart, because relationships are held by matching harmony, matching energies. And if one starts meditating crazily, going on retreats, usually there's a kind of fracturing going on between the two. Not always, but can be there.
Interesting. So how do chords start?
Well, naturally there are energy connections between parents and children, naturally. But when puberty happens, the child is kind of freeing him or herself energetically from the parents, and those cords start to dissolve, usually, or should dissolve. If the child feels is kind of matured and grown up, then they step away, become an adult, and there's a kind of healthy change in the relationship between parent and child. But if that's not happened, if there's been any abuse or trauma in the family, or any codependency, then cords are formed that do not let go. They're not released. So when I worked in the city, I met many guys that acted like adolescents, and they were still adolescents, probably still attached to mummy in some way, or trying to prove something by earning loads of money and trying to puff up their egos. Women who are still very much bonded or fused unhealthily with mother or father. It could be one or both. Maybe you have a controlling mother and trying to control and dominate you and push into your energy field and work out what you're doing, and at some level you may allow it. That creates energy connections that need to be released. Perhaps you feel guilty that your father's sick and you need to rescue him, and you're always trying to help. It's an endless scenario. Maybe you did something you feel bad about or regret or feel guilty for, and you feel corded to them because of that. Endlessly have to seek to try and make amends and can't quite work out how to do it. I mean, the formulas of cords are endless, really. Maybe cords are created from past lives where, or other lifetimes where you're born into a family where you're one of your parents or siblings actually you had some very difficult connections with in other lifetimes, and you're coming to try and resolve it, or maybe even try to pay back something in this lifetime. There's all kinds of computations, but all karma is being rolled up now, so all these things need to be transformed and neutralized. We don't have to go through endless scenarios of karma to pay stuff back. So I meet people whose father may have killed them in other lifetimes. In my history, I believe I had a very difficult relationship with my father, and that worked out in this relationship in this lifetime as a very difficult one. I always felt a bit anxious around him. Couldn't work out why, and it wasn't really anything this lifetime. It was other lifetime stuff. We may have agreements, contracts from other lifetimes that we need to cut that create cords. I mean, it's an endless we could speak an hour about just that alone, really.
I was feeling like weird stuff going on. Like I was feeling myself almost being unwrapped with this old brown paper as the meditation was going on. It was a really kind of physical experience. And then I felt all these almost like plate in my head kind of being pulled out as it was going on. Yeah,
there are all kinds of things like that. There are plates, there are locks in people's energy field, there are implants to prevent awakening that once the transmissions help pull out of those stuff. Because for a long, long time, humanity has been a 3D race. We've not been really allowed to awaken beyond a certain point. We've been active on the first three chakras, mostly, base, sacral and solar plexus. The heart upwards has been pretty locked down. We've been a pretty heartless race for a long time. And now all those energies are being opened and unlocked. So you're getting stuff being pulled out and the chakra system's opening. And as the chakra system's opening, the DNA opens and activates, and as that does, our connection to our higher self and higher consciousness opens, guidance opens, and we're attracting in all kinds of unseen friends, angels and guides who suddenly see as we awaken, they can come in and help us awaken further. It's normal to get stuff pulled out. Crystals, devices, plate, chains, moving energies, all kinds of stuff I pull out of people's bodies on a regular basis, actually.
Do you? So you actually see it, or do they see it, or you see it?
I work with them and I feel it and I test it. I use charts and pendulums and I get them to feel it, and I check how are you feeling in this area, and then we go into the energy and then we start pulling it out or extracting it or busting it or dialoguing with it and releasing it.
Oh, right. So somebody has put those plates there, have they?
Well, at a certain level, you could say we've decided to do it. At a certain level, the soul has decided to experience 3D consciousness, closed down, And in various ways those energies are put in our bodies, but at a certain level we made the decision to switch off, to experience separation. Now it may sound a crazy decision, but that was a collective decision to be in darkness, to be in this dark light scenario, and now the collective decision is to switch back on. That's what's going on the planet. So people are now switching back on, and there's a greater appreciation for the light having gone through the dark, and that's the journey.
I thought after going through your meditation and feeling all those plates coming out of me, I was literally sobbing as all these, it was horrible to see them like metal constantly coming out of every chakra point, almost like blocking it off kind of thing on every point. And you were going through them, all the different, and each one that you went through, I was seeing these metal plates being pulled out.
Well, one of the things is that I trained in a number of systems that are very good at clearing all my energy field. So I think one of the reasons the transmissions are strong is because before I do them, I make sure my energy field is completely clear. I clear myself multidimensionally with all kinds of clearance techniques, and once I know that I'm clear, I'm safe to do it. And then if I'm a clear channel, then those energies can come through me and pull out and activate and align and awaken, or whatever they want to do. But I just my job is just to be a clear channel. That's all I have to be doing, and to be following what they tell me.